Hey everybody, it's Brian Fleming, and I want to talk to you for the next couple minutes about 12 ways to stand firm and win during a crisis. Because everybody at the time of this recording is facing a crisis, and I've faced many crises in my own life from the time I was 11 or 12 years old, my parents' violent divorce, and all that crap. My teenage years, which were insane because of that in many ways. Then going into the military, going to Afghanistan, fighting the war, being injured in the war, the aftermath of being injured in the war and the recovery, the long road to recovery. I know a thing or two about hard times, crisis, getting through stuff. Most motivational advice out there, I think, is crap. And the reason I say that is I understand people are trying to help people, but when I was at my worst times in life, so much of what people say just didn't work. And today I want to share with you 12 things that I've learned that have worked and have stood true, not just in my life, but in the lives of a lot of other people who I personally know who have been through ridiculously horrible circumstances, and they've come out on the other side better. And at the time of this recording, everyone's dealing with this whole coronavirus fiasco, and I just want to share this with you because these are things that I've found have stood the test of time. And here's my challenge to you. Well, number one, comment below as you watch this and let me know which one you think is most relevant. But number two, the biggest thing I want you to do is I want you to walk away with maybe just one thing I say today. What one thing do I say today that you can apply to your life that can help you be better or improve your situation with all this craziness going on? So when you're going through a crisis, one of the big things is that you're in what I call the fog of war. That basically means you're so close to your own situation, a lot of times you just can't see. You can't see what's going on clearly because you're so close to your own situation. Now, number one, the first tip here is to surround yourself with people who are better than you. And that's exactly why you should do that. Other people can see things on your battlefield, your life, your battlefield. They can see things on your battlefield that you cannot. Maybe it's a danger or maybe it's a way out. Again, we don't always see what we need to see because of the fact we're in the gunfight, so to speak, of our own situation. That's where other people come in. And by the way, in case you're not aware, there are a lot of people better than you and me. We're all better than each other in one way or another. All right, whether it's with your health, your fitness, or shooting guns, or self-defense, or how to get a job, or how to grow a business, or how to market a business. There's all these different things that we all have strengths and weaknesses, and the reason you want to get other better people than you around you is because they can show you a way out and how to avoid more danger that you might be going toward and you don't even know you're going toward it. All right, so number two is learn to ask the right questions. I've learned that in life that a lot of people are looking for all the right answers, whatever they think that is, but they're asking all the wrong questions. So many times we're looking for an ideal outcome, an answer that will get us the outcome we want, but we're asking the wrong questions. And when you ask the wrong questions, you either get the wrong answers or it takes a lot longer to get to the right answer that can actually help you get to where you want to go. So that's number two. Learn to ask the right questions. Number three, be proactive, not just reactive. So here's the thing. I always hear people say things like, don't be just reactive, or people talk about this in the self-help and the speaking community. Be proactive, not reactive, or be reactive, not proactive. It's important to be both. And here's why. If you get caught in an ambush, if you don't know what an ambush is, it's when you're in a battlefield and the enemy takes you by surprise from a superior position and attempts to murder you. It's important to react. That's why we have battle drills in the military called react to contact, react to near ambush, react to far ambush. Reacting is important. However, you can't just live in reaction mode. You have to know when to live in reaction mode and when to live in a proactive mode and a proaction mode. Basically, when we went to Afghanistan, we didn't just sit there on the fob, on our base, and wait to get mortared and shot at and just sit there. No, we went out the gates every day and we hunted Taliban. We went into their neighborhoods and we picked fights. I was an infantry guy. An infantry platoon, that's what we do. So we had to be proactive sometimes, taking offense against the enemy, And whatever enemy that is in your life right now, it could be economic, it could be financial, it could be in your relationship, your marriage, whatever's going on right now. React to the things that you have to react to, but also be proactive at the same time and always be taking some sort of action that will get you out of that. You don't win a football game by playing defense only. You have to be throwing the ball, passing the ball, handing it off, and getting that ball into the end zone. And that's being proactive. So think about in your life, what are you being proactive with to get where you need to go in the certain most important areas of your life right now that maybe are suffering because of everything going on. Number 4 is talk less and listen more. I have a hard time with this sometimes because I like to talk, if you didn't notice, and I kind of do it for a living. And so one of the best things I've learned to do is just, if you're ever in a conversation with me and you see me do this, as I'm listening, I have my finger over my mouth. What that means is I'm literally stopping myself physically from talking, because I know there's a time to step in and say something, but the world doesn't need to hear everything I always feel like I need to say. And I've learned that over the years. All right, even though it's a good thing I'm probably going to say, in most cases. All right, so talk less, listen more, because when you hear yourself talk, you don't actually learn a whole lot of new things. And when you learn new things from other people, it can actually help improve your situation. Number 5 is don't make excuses. You know, that sounds pretty rough and blunt and forward, and it is. Like, if you want something, just go do the thing. Go do what you have to do. Don't make excuses about it. It's an easy way out. It's a cop-out. If you want to get results, you can't make excuses. You just have to go do it. And look, here's the deal. We all do it. We all fail. We all make excuses, which is why number 1, surrounding yourself with people who are better than you is so important, because they can call you on it and help you be better, and you have to give them permission to do that. Number 6 is do something for somebody who cannot return the favor. Do something for somebody who cannot return the favor. A lot of people think they're in a really, really bad situation. And that's all sort of relative to your normal life experience, whatever's normal for you. But when you actually meet somebody who's in a far worse position than you're in, or maybe you've ever been in, it gives you a different perspective. And at the same time, help that person. Why? Number 1, because it's the right thing to do. If you can help somebody, do it. But number 2, you walk away from that affected in a positive way. You walk away feeling better. You walk away feeling like you did something good. It feels good to help people. And if there's any part of your mind that says, I'm helping this person because they can do this for me later, or because they're the son or they're the cousin of this other person who I'd like to meet, look, no, that's not it. You're wrong. You're not doing it. That's called an agenda. All right? That's not doing something for somebody without ever expecting anything back in return, ever. All right? When you truly selflessly give to somebody and you say, I want nothing from you ever, that is what will change you from the inside out. It will. I challenge you to go do it. Do it. Number 7. This is a good one. Leave your ego at the door and be teachable. I've trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for the past, number of years, and I trained at Machado's down here in the colony, Texas, for some of that time. And I love the first thing you see on the wall, a huge poster, maybe it's painted, I don't remember, but you go in there and it says, leave your ego at the door. That's what it says. And anybody who's ever done Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you've seen people come in with egos and they get freaking smashed. And they usually don't come back. It's true. If you leave your ego at the door and you're teachable, it's humility, because other people can teach you things. Your ego will serve as a wall, a prison. We put an ego up to we think it's going to protect us. But that barrier that we're trying to protect ourselves with eventually gets so big it becomes a prison wall that we can't get back over and out of. All right. And then other people can't help us because we're not letting them, or we're putting off that vibe. So leave your ego at the door, be teachable. During this whole COVID-19 thing, there are things you can learn and take away from this that will make you strong right now and will allow you to get out of this thing, come out of this thing strong and swinging. But if you're not teachable, if you have your ego, it's going to hurt you, and it's going to hurt those you love and those who depend on you. All right, so don't do that. Number 8 is remember that no season lasts forever. This whole coronavirus season, all this stuff going on, this is a time period. This is not going to stay. It can't stay. Like, it literally can't. There would be mass chaos and anarchy. Like, the world would burn down if it stayed like this indefinitely. It can't. It has to go back. And so that's only a matter of time. And whatever it is you're going through in your life, one of the biggest struggles is when you're going through a really dark, painful time, is that it feels like what you're going through is going to last forever, that it's never going to end. And it feels that way because when you're going through it, there doesn't usually tend to be any foreseeable end in sight. If you're running a marathon and suddenly you can see the finish line, you're like mile 25 and you can see the big grandstands and where people are cheering, that's motivating. But when you're on mile 14.7 and you have like another 11 miles to go, it's not motivating. And you just got to take that one next step at a time. But here's the deal. No matter what season you're going through, it's in your marriage, whether it's mentally and just the junk in your head, financially, no season lasts forever. It would literally defy nature if a season were to last forever. Winter does not last forever. Now, if you live in Antarctica, it could be like freezing and then really, really freezing. But that's an extreme case, and none of us live in Antarctica. All right, unless you're a scientist at McMurdo Air Base or something, the station down there. But there's only probably 5 of those people anyway. So this isn't going to last forever. So just hold on to that. Next thing, number 9, is leverage fear and refuse panic. Here's the deal. I see all these stupid stickers that say, no fear, not afraid. Look, you're afraid of something. I promise. Nobody has no fear. In fact, fear is a good thing. It can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. Because here's the deal. Fear can keep you alive. If you're being shot at and somebody with a gun is shooting at you and you're afraid you're going to get hit, so you duck, you get down behind cover, that's a good thing, because you know why? Fear is in us. If you're talking, just like our primal brains and as human beings, fear is in us to preserve us, to help us survive. And if somebody says they have no fear, they're just stupid, and at the same time, they're lying to you, because everybody has fear. And fear can be a good thing. It can keep you alive in extreme situations. However, this is where you have to be careful, because fear, if you let it control your mind, it can serve as the steering wheel, and it can guide your decisions, and it can guide you in a direction that may be even worse than the position you're in now. So you have to, think about, is this fear or is this panic? Am I letting fear drive me? Or am I acknowledging the fear intelligently, but I'm not letting it direct me? At the same time, is this fear or is it panic? Because panic is when somebody is in the ocean and they can't swim, and you swim out to help them, and they grab you, and they shove you under, and they want to use your body as a flotation device. Panic is deadly. So there's a difference between fear and panic. Fear, it's a smart thing to be afraid. Many things in life you should be afraid of. If I see a bear, a brown bear in the woods, and it's 30 feet from me, I'm scared. I'm not going to act like a big shot, because that thing I know can run 35 miles an hour, which is a lot faster than me, and it can climb trees. So I'm smart to be afraid of that. But to be panicking, that's where people go underwater, and they don't end up coming back up unless their body floats to the surface after they die. So think about that. Leverage fear, but refuse panic. Guard your thoughts. That's the next one. That's biblical. Guard your thoughts. Everything you think up here is going to determine what you do out here. What you think turns into what you do. And if you're not guarding your thoughts, I have so many thoughts that go through my head every day, from somebody says something stupid and how I'd like to choke them out. Just being honest, I imagine myself like seeing that too. Like, hey, I'm standing in a bank right now. If somebody walked in and tried to shoot the place up, like, what would I do right now? These are thoughts that go through my head. The weird thing about that is my adrenaline starts pumping as I'm thinking about those things, because my brain doesn't know the difference between that not being the case or being the case, because I'm thinking it. And so it's reacting the same way. So check it out. Guard your thoughts. What are you thinking about? I'm not saying not to acknowledge the fear and the real things that are happening in your life that are blowing up all around you, but also, are you thinking about coming out of this? Are you thinking about the plan that you devised or you should devise to come out of this thing? And are you thinking on what it's going to be like when you come out of this and what you're going to do and how life is going to be? I'm not saying disconnect from the present and live only in the future and put your head in the sand. I'm not saying that. But you have to have some of that in there. It's called foresight. It's called a vision. In the military, it's called recon. You're going ahead of the forces to see what's out there. Do some recon in your life. What's this going to look like when you come out of this? And what are you doing now to prepare for that? What do you want your life to look like coming out of all of this? And what's the plan that will get you there? Number 11, call it what it is, but don't make it more than it is. This is so relevant right now. Again, at the time of this recording, we had the whole coronavirus thing going on. And here's the deal. With any issue like this, there's two extremes. You have the one extreme saying, millions and millions and millions and millions of people are going to die in a matter of days. Then the other side is saying, the government's just trying to take all your rights and dominate you, and it's going to become Nazi Germany, World War II. They're both wrong. But, before you get really mad at me, there's truth in both of them. That's the thing. There's a little bit of truth in both of them, and the truth in any situation usually lies somewhere in the middle of the two extremes. And so when you're watching the news and they're saying hundreds of thousands and millions of people are going to die over the next couple of months, I'm no expert on this COVID-19 thing, but from what I'm seeing by the numbers and the history of this thing, the recent history that has been shown, that's not looking like it's going to be the case. Again, you'll probably get mad at me if you're a healthcare person or you're just not very informed. At the same time, I don't know that the government is trying to take all our rights away and turn this into Nazi Germany. At the same time, I'm open to anything because right now I'm basing what I'm saying on what I see and what I can figure out as being the truth and the numbers that it actually are. All right, so that if something changes in the future, obviously my opinion of that would change. But I'm basing it on what I see. So I'm calling it what it is, but I'm not making it more than it is. And we do that. We jump to making scenarios in our lives. If something bad happens, we jump to a worst case scenario. Why do you think we have all these crazy people? Yeah, if you're one of those, I'm calling you a crazy person. There was no TP shortage. There's no shortage of toilet paper production when this thing happened. But people hoarded toilet paper. They still are. Why toilet paper? I don't know. Here's the reason. They're in their neighborhood, they're in their community, and where everything's fine, everyone's being nice to each other, people are not lacking, and suddenly they step out of the physical present around them, and they go inside here, and they imagine scarcity. They imagine houses being taken away. They imagine having no money. They imagine their kids starving. These worst case scenarios that most people in America are not even at this point experiencing. So be careful. Don't jump to the worst case scenario because your mind is going to want to do that. It's called survival. Now here's the deal. I will say this. It is important gradually over time to always be on guard and plan for the worst case scenario. That's what my life experience in the military and war has taught me. Be prepared for things. I was a Boy Scout. Always be prepared. All right. But that doesn't mean you have to just live suddenly like just at the flick of a light switch where you go from being normal to now you've got to go buy everything on the shelf. Because again, there was no shortage of TP. There's only the shortage that people are creating. It was the same thing with that whole gas thing a few years ago when the oil rig off the coast of Texas was shut down temporarily. They said there might be a slow in production temporarily, and people went nuts. They were burning up the gas machines, and they were running out of gas. You couldn't hardly get any. There was no shortage. If people would have just continued on normal in their lives, there would have been no shortage. But people heard this stuff. They jumped to the worst case scenario, and they started living by it, even though they could look around them in their neighborhood and in their home and with their friends, and nobody was living in that worst case scenario. So, again, that is, call it what it is, but don't make it worse than it is. And the last one here, keep moving forward by faith. I don't care if you're a person of faith or not. Business owners build businesses by faith. We establish governments by faith. We do everything by faith. People believe in God by faith. Everybody has a measure of faith. That's even biblical. And it doesn't matter even if you look at that in a religious connotation or context or not. All right, keep moving forward by faith. Look, that's the best thing you've got going for you. If you're going through a hard time, continuing to move forward by any stretch, believing that it's going to get better, that's your best case scenario. It doesn't really get any better than that. And here's the thing. Keep moving forward by faith, even when all of the evidence is pointing in the opposite direction. Things will get so bad in your life sometimes where people actually laugh at you or mock you. They'll say, look at your life or look at your situation. How can you just be so ignorant to what's going on that you would believe this can get better? Or something of that nature. It happens all the time. I don't have a lot of those people in my life anymore because I filtered my life out of people who are just, toxic mentally, who have these horrible mindsets. But keep moving forward by faith in a productive direction, even when the evidence is pointing in the opposite direction. After I got injured by that suicide bomber, I believed there was a reason for it. Yeah, I'd put myself in that situation where that was possible, so I owned my side of it, and not just the suicide bomber. He had his part, but I had mine. But also, I believed, after they scraped my skin off with razor blades, the burns, all the horrible burn treatment they had to do to me, I chose to believe that there was a reason bigger than me that this all happened, and I chose to believe that I would see it come to be at some point. Now, I had nothing to base that on. I had no evidence. I was in the worst situation. I was in the worst case scenario I had ever been in my life, ever. There was no evidence showing that I would ever recover from the level of post-traumatic stress that I was dealing with, the traumatic brain injury symptoms I was dealing with, the burn treatment, everything else. There was no evidence indicating that. Yet I came out of that, and for the past 12, 13 years, I've been writing books. I've written 4 books. I've spoken to hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, and I've made a life for myself. And I have a good life. I've been married to the same woman since before I deployed to Afghanistan. I have a good marriage. Now, all that, the evidence for all that was not there, but I chose to believe it anyway. And I want you to think about your own life. Move forward by faith. There is so much going on that you can't see in your own life. And if you're looking for evidence, sometimes it's just not there. And there doesn't have to be evidence of something present for it to be there. I know that sounds really hokey and weird, but there doesn't have to be evidence for something in order for it to be present or possible. So again, I want to remind you, these are the 12 things. Real quick, I'll summarize them because this is going long. Surround yourself with people who are better than you. Learn to ask the right questions. Be proactive, not just reactive. Be proactive and reactive whenever it's necessary. Talk less and listen more. Don't make excuses. Do something for somebody who can't return the favor. Leave your ego at the door and be teachable. Remember that no season lasts forever. Leverage fear, refuse panic. Guard your thoughts. Call it what it is, but don't make it out to be more than it is or worse than it actually is. And lastly, keep moving forward by faith, even when all of the evidence is pointing in the opposite direction. Look, here's the deal. Here's the deal with your life. You have to admit this right now. This is not your first battle. This is not the first thing you've had to face and overcome. And you got through those other things in your life, in your past, whatever your past is, and whatever you've had to overcome. And you're going to get past this too. We all are. All right, so comment below. Tell me, was one of these helpful for you? Leave a comment below. Which one was most helpful for you if one of them really stood out and applies to your life? I'd love to see it and I'd love to know it. And the bigger thing it would do is it would let everybody watching this know that they're not alone if they took away the same thing that you did. All right, so if you want to know more about what I do, I'm a resilience trainer. I do resilience training for the military. I speak on resilience. If you go to blownupguy.com, you'll see more about what I do because I got blown up in Afghanistan. So blownupguy.com. If you are having trouble in your marriage communicating with your spouse because you're stuck in this place due to this whole COVID-19 and staying home, we have some free resources at marriagebattleplan.com. Marriagebattleplan.com is a website my wife and I created that shows you how to communicate clearly with your spouse so your marriage will make it, so you can win the battles in your marriage. And we teach you how to do that using proven military battle strategies that we've applied to our marriage that have helped us communicate better and have a great marriage. So I hope this has been helpful for you. And these are 12 things you can do to stand firm and win during a crisis.